Hello again, and we are back with another one of our stadium courses, and this is from rmcavoy. Oh, let's go medium, not high winds. We do not have the game for that. And we're going to play pin 1, and we're going with black. This is Severn Creek Stadium. This is a name of a designer I do not know, so my usual in this case is to assume they're a beginner until I figure out otherwise. Because you kind of know most people after a while. It's a small enough community. Anywho, okay, so we've gone boreal as well. We've got water, which is as expected. There's lots of stuff going on. We've got cart paths. Definitely got the plot right because we've got this little elbow down the bottom left. We've got some double water plane stuff and creeks going through. Interesting. Okay, we have lots of grandstands and some concession areas. And native areas. Yeah, lots of space. I think we've stuck with some autogen planting, which is interesting. What is this doing? Oh, right, that's by here. Gotcha. Fence is walking us to the next tee. Oh. And we've done some work on the tournament stuff. Oh, nice. And also kind of going for a little bit of the Augusta look. Yes, with some of the bushes. All right, let's nip back to the first then. Okay, so straight off the bat, like I kind of, as mentioned, kind of assuming you're a designer, I think there's some unintentional blindness on the bunkers. You'd want to be able to see those from the tee. I'm going to assume if there's an issue on the first, it will kind of carry over to other holes. So that'll just be something you want to check in future. It is nice that we have the ad board here for people to stand behind. They're kind of, these guys feel like they know they're in the firing line and they're trying to huddle as close to the fence as they can to get out of the way. I would recommend just not putting the crowds there. We're just going to try and pop one down the middle. The fairway itself is kind of a half pipe, which I'm not personally a huge fan of. It just generally makes everything easier and everything funnels towards the same spot in a bowl. Right, I like the green. We've got some little compartments and slopes to feed it into different areas. I will say I'm not sure why this texture is a second surface. Stuff like this, I would just question why you're doing it. I don't know where we would have seen that before. Right, gap wedge is, and again you can see the unintentional blind. Like generally, if you hold in the left trigger, you can check what you're wanting to see. This is usually the camera people use from the designer versus what you're actually seeing, and that kind of guides your sculpting. And it might be that you just want us to see the tip of the flag. It just feels like that's probably not what we wanted. I feel like the green side and the green shape though, that works nicely. One for one. Okay, hole 2. Okay, we've got, yeah. So the comment on the bunkers from the first hole, let's just go and say that's going to be a rinse and repeat for every other hole, I think. Just saves me having to mention it, but every time I get to this sightline, ask yourself, am I seeing all of the bunkers that I've put down? If not, you need to change your sculpting, generally. You can have blind bunkers, but probably you don't want to do that until you're a number of courses in, and then you've got to have pretty good reason. I like this. Nice wide open look into the green. This is cool. Presents nicely, lots of space. It's a challenging little pin position. We can do that. Two for two. Happy days. Okay. Well, the difficulty certainly stepped up. One other thing, I'm just going to try and give you all the little bits of feedback I can do. Again, we've kind of got the crowd squished into too tight an area. I suspect this is because we've just put this hole just a little too close to the edge. There are tricks you can have to like make more of this space. Like if you put your tee behind the green and chuck the green over here a little bit, and then you're kind of walking this way, then that way, rather than here, then here, you'll actually make more of the space. Would help if you wanted this hole to be longer. I actually think this hole, for R3 that's 190 odd, you definitely want some fairway in front so that people can roll the ball on. Because we're never going to really get a 5-iron to just stop on a dime, even though you have given us a backstop. I also think you're probably trying to squeeze a bit too much onto this green in terms of the slope, although that's partly the nature of trying to build a difficult golf course. Yeah, that's kind of all we'll go with for now, I think. Sightline itself is probably just a little bit cluttered. There's a lot going on. I think this hole is it's just a bit too squished. Generally, when you can see the cart path very close. Not yet. Oh, there we go. We can. I mean, the backstop does help us get there. I may have to do a bonus stream for a rhino course. 3 for 3. Ready. Oh, four. Yeah, again, we've got the guys in the firing line. Like, you could be putting them out here where they can see a bit more and not get killed. The fairway is also very wide compared to like how narrow that third hole just was. This one's now, we've got a massive landing zone. The irony of the plane flying overhead is not lost on me. I like that with this green you're doing a bit more than just a simple back tier. Same as like the first green. I think those are the best ones we've had. Yeah, we'll just lay it. The distance does kind of mean that's a bit of a forced layout. I like this planting. Like more of this sort of stuff would be great. But this looks really good. And just need to kind of commit to doing it a lot of other places. Oh, hey, trees. Yes, it is. That's it hard. There we go. Managed to push it. Yeah, I think this is like you see a lot of stuff that is just like newer designer figuring some things out. Though my first course would have been exactly the same. There's like some stuff where you can tell there's some good ideas, and certainly on my first one there's like there's some stuff that just does not work at all. Yeah, I think with this one there's a lot of interest. The problem with this one is you're always going to bomb it over this. No one's ever laying back. So like it's a shame because I think if the driver was maybe getting you to here, like you can have 3-wood to the top of the hill and then you play down, I think that's then a really cool hole. But because of the distances we're playing, people are always just going to do this. Or hit the cart path and then fly even further. Oh no, we hit the mulch. Probably helped actually. Grab. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I think if you are going to go for the 3-shot par 5, like Mark says, like, I think you've got to make that second shot more of a challenge / decision. So, like, if you can really generate getting much closer or an angle. This green's a bit of a dick punch. Like, we're just doing a lot to prevent people to get close to that, which is fine. These courses kind of do that. The benefit of having those little bits of heavy rough means that we can just bounce back into the fairway, which I don't think is how you'd want that to play. wind is good. Yeah, that's true. They haven't all been though. 1 was front, 3 was front. This one's an illegal pin, but fine. To smash it through it. I can't remember what 2 was. I like the par 3 nestled in around the creek. I think you've done some really good work with this. The darkness isn't necessarily helping, and again, just work with the sculpting so that you can definitely see the water that you've done. And we don't need to protect this pin so much, so like where it's just falling off the other way after you just get up. There are other ways of doing difficulty. It is. Oh, that's not the shot. We'll just put ourselves in the worst position. And again. Oh, I was so hoping that would go in for like the worst par ever. As is, it's still going to be a double because this putt's horrible. I think generally you want to avoid what we would call crowned pins, which is where it falls away on both sides, because if you go slightly too far, you're then rolling away, and you can just get into this kind of crazy golf aspect. You know, the like termite mound holes on crazy golf, which are really annoying. You just don't really want that. There's just feels like quite a gimmicky way of doing difficulty. Bunker sightlines are getting better, so I think if that is something you were working on, stuff. Okay, so this green does less of the like. But even then, we're still kind of doing crowned because you can see you've got here it falls away and then it starts falling away this way, and it goes this way and it goes this way. Like it's just it feels a little gimmicky. Definitely not the shot. Oh, I should have laid back as well. This is not remotely what I want. And we take our medicine. Okay. I should also mention the stuff that I like that you've done. I think the crowds have been done nicely. Occasionally it all gets a little squished. So this is one example. I don't understand the red. Oh, it's a scoreboard. Yes. I like that you've tucked the green round the corner and used the tree line nicely. The kind of coloured trees mixed in with the autogen, our sizes look just very off, I would say. I like the creek on the outside again, and trying to like the idea on this hole is really cool. Because I need to get far enough down I can clear those trees, but I also don't want to go in the water, and the further I go down, harder that is to do. That's tight. That will do just nicely. That's okay. Just this one could have probably used a little bit more space generally. I like the idea. Bit of a throwback to the first screen with the fidget spinner sort of shape, for lack of a better term. Oh, tempo was so good at the start. It's just gone. Hey, Malahan. Yeah, I mean, just about. I have 2 weeks off, so life is good. I have a lot of work to do within those 2 weeks. Yeah, I will say planting feels like something you need to commit to a little bit more. Like you've done this little area, and honestly, it just kind of stands out that none of the rest of it has been done. I almost would have been better done like without it. Yeah, and we could use some trees down here. There's some stuff we can clean up. Okay. Green is also difficult again, which is fine. I'm sure Dario will enjoy playing these. Actually, don't. I think he's played. When we last spoke, he'd played most of, or like a bit over half. So we're probably at about the same stage now. I would have loved you to have moved these two stands so that we get this view over that water. Like, if you could have put them up here somewhere, maybe. Or like a stand there. I think you've got a really good sight line looking through. Could be okay. Nope. It was just long enough. Where did we land? Oh, that was so close. Turn hard? Oh, it did. Didn't deserve to go in. I like the little walking path you've done up here. This looks good. See, this one has much more space, and you can really tell and see the benefits of it. Plus, what you've done really nicely is kind of, whilst it has more space generally up here, you have cut off a lot of the side with this. So it's focusing our attention more on the hole itself. And the same with this canvas wall on this side. There's some good stuff there. We have had a lot of front to back greens. And this on a long par 3 with a false front will annoy people. It's the sort of trick you can pull once and not again, because you just always end up here. And if you do, you need to make it. You need to be really, really careful with how you do it. Generally, the tree-lined holes have been the best ones for me. They've been the most interesting. Fade off that bunker just a little. I like where you've tucked the green down in this little dell. Okay. See, again, we're doing so much good of just like potentially allowing a ball to run on. But I don't, I don't really like the green slopes. Like, neither of these bits should be green surface. I would just look at how other people do false fronts and when they're there, and like why they're there. Generally, they're there to, you're requiring an aerial approach, so the ball to land on the green and stop pretty quickly. So it's wedge shots often. So you don't see them on. You can see them on par 5s, but less often on good courses. You see them on a lot of bad courses. Basically, false fronts on greens are the sort of thing that you do when you're starting out designing all the time, and then you see really good designers don't do them very often, because actually they take away a really interesting shot from going in. Okay, checking around some trees once more. A very big bunker here. I like that we're going back to the kind of when the course kind of zigs between the kind of closed nature of these tree lined holes. So like this view looks really good because you've got the trees that are framing it. In my mind, the fairway goes way out here. So I'd have brought the tree line in a bit more on this side probably. But when it goes from that and then to the openness, I think that looks that's cool. We're going to just shove it in that bunker because I don't know how to draw or fade the ball. I mean, it's not the worst shot in the world. I think I'd really like this green from like being approached from this angle with like a shorter club. But that was kind of the shot I was trying to get to and just couldn't. No complaints. Not where I anticipated that going. That's on me. How I am -5 on this? I mean, to be fair, I was 4 under through 4, so that's pretty much the only reason. Okay. Generally speaking, cart paths going across a fairway are a no. Because it just it feels gimmicky if you bounce one off it and roll into. There are sometimes no ways around it, but I would do everything possible to make it so that you don't have to do this. Same thing with sightlines, like all I can see is the cart path. It would be nice to see the fairway or the water on the left. I'm trying not to harp on the sightlines much. I like this at the base of the rockwork's nice. Oh, lovely. When you have committed to the planting, it looks good. Like, just keep doing it and taking your time with it. I also like the base of pines that we've got here. Works nicely. Off green. But then they kind of all have been. Not in this game. Oh, it did hold its line. Oh, and he suddenly took 2 steps forwards onto the green. R5. Where are we going this? Yeah, again, like, this looks nice. It feels almost completely out of place because we've seen none of this sort of planting, like the small trees, anywhere else. But I like that you're doing it. I think my main comment on the planting would just be find a look and commit to it. Oh, didn't need the slow. That said, oh, I had a decent, no, maybe? I might get there. Not surprisingly well. Again, I like the way you've put the green with the water just to the left of it. You could shove the green a little bit further, closer to it. Use of the creek on this one works nicely. Somewhere there, probably. Not very good at judging these. As evidenced. I will take the 2-putt. 16. Yeah, a lot of the par 3 is a lot of the par 3s fair. Par 3s have felt quite similar. As in bunkers or hazards in front, kind of this straight on sort of green shape. If I get it close on this one, it's luck rather than judgment. And like there is a channel to work it close. I think there's probably a little too much going on this green for the length of shot as well. That'll be one where it's hard to explain, but you'll see it in a couple of courses' time. I think a lot of these critiques are things that, like, I remember with my first few courses, you can't really see at the time, and then you look back at it and just like, oh yeah, that's where that doesn't work or what have you. I like this. Yeah, I think fading around the tree makes sense. Started it too far right. In the bunker. That's a fun hole. Like, it's very simple in what it's doing, unashamed in what it's doing, and it works. like this a lot. Wedge flop it is. Ah, screw you, game. One hole to go. Yeah, and suddenly we've gotten really quite tight again, and these guys, like, one thing I'd say you have here is you've got this creek that you've spent a lot of time planting, and as your best strategic feature, and you've put a cart path right next to it with a load of people. Hey, Gravy. This is the ideal place to put your fairway and make this the best place to play your second shot from. My strategy is to try and hit the ball straight, which is generally working pretty well. I like what you've done with the grandstands works really nicely. I would have probably lost some of the trees that are growing through them, but other than that, I think wind and elevation just about cancel each other out. As long as we hit tempo, pretty good. Pretty good. I just hadn't fluffed that flop shot on 17. Shame. I mean, there were other mistakes as well. Yeah, it was a cool finish. There's I've tried to give you a load of feedback there, partly because I remember how I was when I was starting out, and that's kind of what I wanted. I think there are tons of really fun ideas here that you just want to refine, and I love the stuff. Like when I see the cool ideas, and it's like, yep, you just need a little bit of feedback pushing in the right direction. 17 was a really cool hole. Loved that. 18, there's lots of good going for it. All of it, I think there's lots of good going for it. It just needs that little bit of understanding of what to do and when. And then once you start getting that, keep those cool ideas and just now go down the strategy rabbit hole of why essentially rather than doing what we do when we first come to this game, which is, oh, I'll put a bunker there and I'll do a green like this and I'll do this there. Try and understand why people do those things. And that was the biggest thing for me, was going down that rabbit hole of why do people do front to back greens and what things are necessary for that to happen, and why do they put bunkers where they put them. Why do they only bunker one side of the hole often, and if so, what are the consequences of that? Things like that. How do people use a river? Look at a couple of golf courses that that use rivers. Old Town Club is a great example. Look at how the creek is used there. And just go down that rabbit hole a little bit. And then the second thing is just keep working on sculpting and surfacing and commit to the planting, because a lot of this stuff is just, unfortunately, it's the boring grind part of just making sure that what is in your head is actually what's coming through, which is less fun. I say that I really enjoy that part because it's kind of relaxing and you can switch your head off a little bit. But that's the other thing that you just kind of need to commit to. But that was a ton of fun. I really enjoyed it. There's lots of good stuff out there.